Hello there, my name is Sir Aaron, and welcome to the first of a series of videos where I'll be detailing and discussing the lore from the main setting for the tabletop role-playing game Exalted. I'll mostly be drawing on material from the Exalted 2nd edition core rulebook, which was published by White Wolf in 2006. Its main authors are Alan Alexander, Rebecca Borgstorm, Carl Bowen, Zach Bush, Joseph Carricker, John Chambers, Genevieve Cogman, Dawn Elliott, Michael Goodwin, Conrad Hubbard, Peter Schaffer, John Sneed, Andrew Watt, and William Wolfe. I'm aware that 3rd edition Exalted was released in 2016 by Onyx Path Publishing, but I won't be using material from that book as much, partly because I'm mostly familiar with 2nd edition Exalted material, as I've been running it and playing it for quite some time now, but also because, as far as I'm aware, 3rd edition Exalted mostly only makes mechanical changes. There are some differences between 3rd edition and 2nd edition lore, but they're mostly the same, or at least very similar. With that in mind, I hope you enjoy this series, that you find it useful, and will perhaps share it with your friends or players if you're a GM and are using this as a primer on the lore for the world of Exalted. So you've picked up this game, and you're wondering what makes Exalted different from any other fantasy role-playing game on the market. First, there are its influences. Almost every other fantasy game can directly trace itself back to that monolith of the 20th century, J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. Exalted, however, draws its inspiration from Western and Eastern sources, both older and more recent. The first major influences are the ancient epics of the West and the East, the Ramayana, the Iliad, the Journey into the West, the Arabian Nights, etc. All feature larger-than-life heroes capable of laying waste to nations and challenging the might of the gods themselves. The second source is pulp fiction. This genre includes the pre-Tolkien fantasy produced by Edgar Rice Burroughs, Robert E. Howard, and Fitz Leiber, which birthed Tarzan, Conan, Fathird and the Grey Mouser, and a multitude of other standard swords and sorcery type literature. The final sources of inspiration for Exalted are Asia's over-the-top shonen manga and anime, video games, and the wuxia and waifu films. More than the rest, it is this last set of sources that differentiates Exalted from many of its other competitors. The second way Exalted is different from other role-playing games is in its power levels involved. In most games, a player's heroic character starts out as a complete wuss. He's lucky if he owns a rusty dagger and a loincloth, and he's possessed of all of the fighting prowess of an asthmatic schoolboy. Exalted is different. Exalted characters begin the game as badasses, reborn heroes of old, wielding powerful magic and weapons, so massive mere mortals can't even lift them. These heroes are easily capable of challenging armies in combat and prevailing. Finally, what truly sets Exalted apart is the strength of its setting. Creation is a fantastic place, a flat plain larger than the whole of Earth, formed by the confluence of elemental forces and the will of ancient primordial beings. Once an even larger and more fabulous place, all of creation was nearly destroyed some 800 years ago by powerful forces arrayed against it. Just beyond the edges of the world, the fair folk bide their time, waiting for another opportunity to march forth from the formless wild to undo the shaped reality. Just beneath the skin of the world, the necrotic lords of the underworld plot to share the gifts of oblivion with all living things. And imprisoned within the infinite body of the Iosis known as Malphaeus, the demon princes strive to escape their prison to wreak vengeance on the gods and the gods' champions. Meanwhile, in the celestial city of Yushan, even the greatest of the gods cannot tear their attention away from the seductive games of divinity, although creation teeters on the brink of apocalypse. That leaves the chosen of the gods, the Exalted, as creation's only hope. Those exalted are your characters. What legends will you tell of their deeds?